the early phases of the company, the most taxing thing for me of everything was just like the management of my peers, like my colleagues. Not because they did anything wrong. It's just because it's a complex situation. I mean, you take a whole lot of students and a professor and you start a business. You have one person then driving it in a certain direction, kind of starting to push strategic direction and or sales, your commercial orientated direction, starting to take leadership in certain aspects and stuff. There's always going to be a complex power struggle and complex emotions and needs and desires and stuff that needs to be balanced. And
how did you get through that? And then fast forward a bit, growing your team from that initial 4 to now 50.
Yeah, the getting through that is grit. I mean, it was a lot of continuous struggling and grinding, and there was a lot of things said over the years between the group, towards each other, and a lot of things said towards me that if I were to cling to that or take it too seriously, it would make the thing fall apart, right? And it's learning how to see the other person's side of it to a large extent, and accepting, even though it's unreasonable, it's not reasonable to expect them to be reasonable. Learning that. So,
empathy.
Getting to the point where you understand that you can't expect them to be unemotional and reasonable in every situation, because if you were in that situation, you'd be the same. And then learning to just accept those things and move past it and not hold grudges and not stay stuck on stuff, just moving on. And I think creating, to a certain extent, certain principles in terms of how you handle conversation and getting the mind shift from what I want and what you want and whatever to what the company needs, type of thing. So asking how from there to now, a big help for me was getting a coach. So Mike Smith is he's always been like my call it life and business coach type of thing. It's a very particular thing, right? You need to find the person that works for you. So the way I need to be motivated is the way he naturally motivates. So there's a compatibility there in terms of styles. And he helped me a lot to stay calm and do the right things and understand people better and put the right structures in place and start focusing on company culture and that kind of stuff. I mean, I remember right in the beginning, we were in the launch lab, you and Jonathan Smith still tried to do things like the business model canvas with us. And I was sitting there going dude, we need to ship stuff out to customers tomorrow. I don't even know how to ship a satellite thing to a customer in wherever in the world, and we still need to build it. Now you want to ask me about a business model and my company values and whatever. It made no sense to me at that point, right? And rightfully so, because that wasn't the priority at that point. And with a group of 5 people, company culture and values and stuff is still very iffy. But as the group grew, I realized those things are the most important things in the company, right? The company values and the culture and the vision and the mission, all that kind of stuff. Basically, it's this amazing self-motivating system, right? So if you have 20 people that you need to keep aligned to get to a goal, you can either constantly try and manage everyone and constantly try nudge people and or you can tell them, you can plant a very big flag on the horizon and say, we're going to the flag, and then enable people to make their own decisions. Then you don't need to constantly check with them. You don't need to constantly guide them. They can always, at any point when they need to make a decision, just ask me, is this taking me towards the flag, type of thing. So, that big vision and mission and clear goals is a very way of self-managing the group, because they can then make their own decisions to go towards it. But then the values thing was, the best description I've got of that yet was, it's kind of the sidewalk When you let go of the steering wheel and the car starts swerving, you hit the sidewalk. It's the thing that kind of reminds you to keep you towards where you want to go. And very clearly and deliberately and aggressively giving and receiving feedback, one of the values of the company, is one way in which that we got over that conflict and tension between the shareholders as well. Is saying, as a team, for us to work together, we need to be able to give feedback in a graceful way, and we need to be able to receive feedback, without getting defensive. And we all agree that if we can do that, it will be good for the team, right? So we all agree that that's something we value. That's one of our company values. And then at any point, always just keeping that in mind and being able to remind people of the fact that we agreed that this is important type of thing, just makes it slightly less personal, and keeps the focus on what the company needs instead of what each individual needs. I still remember one time, very early on, I had a conversation that was complex and awkward with the group, and I can't remember exactly the context, but it was objectively very unreasonable, right? And I had to go in there and just keep my cool and just get through it. And I spoke to Anita now, so CEO of Innovus now, USE Enterprises. And she's just always, throughout this entire thing, she's been on my side, non-negotiable. Like, I know she will support me. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And at that point, I gave her a call and I said, I'm going into this meeting now. And she understood the whole context. She was already up to date. And she was like, I completely understand how awkward this is and how bad this is. And you're completely right in what you think. And they're being completely unreasonable in what they think. The best thing the best advice I can give you is just get through the meeting. And what I found to really work, and it's such a cliche thing, but in that...
This is Anita talking.
This is Anita talking. Yeah. But in that moment, coming from her, even though it was so cliche, it was just so impactful. She just basically told me, I always just imagine everyone naked. And, it's a cliche thing, but at that moment, I was so tense, I was so stressed, speaking to her on the phone, and Anita now telling me that, it just diffused everything. I went into this meeting and I was just chill. Like, I was just I didn't pick the fight. I just let it, blow past, let everything chill, and then later we addressed the problem, we got through it and whatever. But it's those little skills. I didn't actually imagine everyone naked.
Yeah.
But that icebreaker was just...
she calmed you down. She took the tension out of you, but like a little funny comment.
Yeah.
And then it also puts the meeting in perspective. No one's going to die.
Exactly.
It's going to be awkward. It's going to be emotional. Everyone's going to walk away and get on with it, and we'll figure out how it works.
And it basically ties up to a greater lesson of just realizing that things that might seem very complex just isn't that complex. You can always get through it. You can always talk through it. And I think that's kind of experience, right?
Yeah. That's it's not so consequential too. Like, you think it's this massive mountain. It's actually not that bad. And so, and when someone's in that situation, they're feeling like it's a mountain. It's stupid telling them, just calm down. Yeah. I tried that with my wife when she was giving birth, to tell her just calm down. I'll remember that in 5 weeks. Don't tell her to calm down.
But it's perspective, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're speaking about. The zoom out, see the big picture. And then make a decision, which comes from, like you said, experience, but also good leadership. Like, you learn those skills along the way, and you learn the type of leader that you want to be. Yeah. What's that secret sauce for creating this healthy culture? You spoke about planting the flag and rallying the troops to move towards it.
Yeah.
But the softer things.
I think one of the most important things that I've learned and that I apply very deliberately and aggressively in our company is to realize that whatever you would want, so let's say you're in a leadership position, you imagine yourself working at a company. Whatever you would want in terms of perks or in terms of work style or in terms of environment, in terms of how you're treated by management, in terms of how you're rated. Whatever you would want, your employees also want. When you as a leader go to work and you have, oh man, I need to go renew my car license, you can, you then go and you reschedule your things and you go do your car license and you go to work. If you're in a position where you can't just tell people, I'm going to reschedule my things, you've got you're one engineer or one employee sitting in a meeting of 10 and you want to now go do your car license, you can't just tell those people, So as a leader, you've got a little bit more control and flexibility, realizing that each employee needs that same flexibility and control. Each employee also has that moment where they need to go renew their car license, right? So at all times, realizing and keeping a focus on the fact that each employee has the same needs that you have as a leader, and then implementing systems and rules that then enable them to have a comfortable work environment. So when we give our employees 27 days leave, typical is like 20 days. Packing lunch in the mornings and worrying about food is a schlep. So, everyone gets lunch at work. We try and make things as reasonable and comfortable as possible. The message is you can work from home or work or wherever you can get your work done. If you can get your work done from a specific place, then great, do it there. You're not going to be micromanaged, and it's like output, management by output type of thing. Yeah. I think it all comes down to treating each employee like a person with needs, just as you are a person with needs. I mean, one of my favorite books for in terms of managing people is the Outward Mindset. So it's leadership and self-deception, the Outward Mindset. It's all part of the same series. The principle of it is you can either see yourself as a person with a whole lot of needs and everyone else as objects influencing your life. So when someone does something specific, you can, that's uncomfortable to me because with my need, I needed X. Or you can treat people around you like individual people with needs. And if you make that distinction, you'll realize that you think completely differently about things. Yeah. The leadership in a company has a certain mindset. That mindset slowly translates into a company culture. I think that's kind of what I think has happened here. Is like I've worked on my mindset and getting my mindset right slowly, then started influencing who I hire, how I speak to people, and then how I speak to people is how eventually they spoke. I've had these moments where I've seen particular individuals in the company of our employees speak to someone else in a specific way, in a negative way. And I've looked at them and I've identified that I've spoken to that person that way. I've had these moments where I realize like how people speak to each other in the company very often reflects how I speak to the people in the company. So, I mean, it's leadership, right? I think
so there's no gimmicks. It's not table tennis and paddle games and
those things are great.
Going outings and stuff, and maybe you do those, but culture boils down to how you show up, how you show up every
those
day.
things are symptoms, right?
Yeah.
Those things happen automatically if the mindset is correct.
And it can create disintegration of we say all these things, we go and we have fun and we're doing these outings and immersions and whatever. Yeah. And then like you treat me like a piece of crap every day when I come to work. And there's no integrity between the two. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I read this little I love Simon Sinek. He's like I've got a massive like man crush on him. He had this little thing about leadership the other day, but it was it basically just came down to the fact that you're called a leader not because you tell people what to do, whatever, but because you go first. Like a leader is called a leader because you go first into the unknown, first into the difficult thing. It's about setting the example. And so I think as a CEO of a company, you need to get, I want to say your shit together. You need to get your mindset right. You need to be caring towards your employees and the people around you. You need to realize that what's that guy, Gary
V.
I watched this one thing once where he was like in a crowd, and this one guy stood up and asked him, like, how do you get your people to kind of commit and work as hard as you are, and like really get them to give 110% and like really give their everything and stuff. And he basically said, dude, you're the problem. Like, the fact that you expect your employees to work as hard as you are, you as shareholder and as owner of the company expect your employees to work as hard as you are, you're nuts. Why would they? It's a job for them, and reasonably so. So to also kind of learn,
put that in perspective,
what to expect of your employees. What would you have done if you're an employee at the company instead of a shareholder or the CEO of the company, whatever. So it's just like learning how to treat people reasonably, and balancing treating people reasonably with being very ambitious is a tricky thing, right? As a young CEO in a company, you want to get stuff done, you want to go places, and you want to get, and then you don't have time to emotionally manage people and whatever. You just want them to do the thing. If they're not doing the thing, why aren't you doing the thing? But you can't do it that way. Some people can. Elon Musk does. He's just demands, and he's like aggressive and whatever. And you can be successful with that management style, right? It's a management style to a large extent.
And some of those companies, Tesla will never have a problem recruiting people. SpaceX won't either. But there's something to say for longevity of people in a team.
Yeah.
And then if it's a crap place to work, you're going to churn.
You're going to churn a lot. Yeah, I mean, we don't churn.
Yeah.
When we lose people, it's because they're immigrating. Yeah. And also just like taking ownership and responsibility for things. I mean, if things are going wrong because particular people in the company are not doing, to your opinion, enough, but they're already working at 100%, they're just not willing to do 150%, you're responsible because you probably don't have enough people. You either took on too much, or you don't have enough people, or your timelines are too tight, or whatever. So ultimately it comes back to you taking responsibility for making the thing work.
Especially if you're hiring good people. And I don't think you have a problem with hiring bad people.
Yeah.
You kind of have your pick of engineers that are with your skill set in the country.
Yeah.
So there's also life seasons, right? Like, I'm sure now you have a 5-week-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your season of 150%, right now, it's not one of those seasons.
Absolutely.
At work.
Yeah.
It might be at home. So you're going to have to be okay with 100%.
Yeah.
And everyone else is going to have to be okay with that.
Absolutely.
So there's seasons and spaces for team members to have that.
And that's once again like that outward mindset thing is, there's this person, but an object that's not giving me the 110% or 150% of thinking, there's this person, they're giving 100%. Why? They also have a baby. So it's that treating people around you as people. Sounds very simple, but it really isn't. We all the time start treating people like objects.
You know how impressive that is, coming from a control engineer. People, I can't control them. I'm treating them as humans from a control engineer.
What's in the pipeline in the coming months and years?
So, I mean, we started in CubeSats, right? So it's these tiny versions of satellites.
Loaves of bread.
Yeah. Now becoming bigger loaves of bread. And we've really established ourselves as one of the leaders in control systems for these satellites.
I'd say one of the best in the world, like top 3, top 5.
Top 2.
Am I lying? Top 2. Okay. Like, objectively speaking, if you weren't top 2, you're an engineer, you wouldn't say that.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So then I'm going to say that.
Yeah. Top, maybe even more first.
Top 2.
For controls, for CubeSats. Okay. Now, for bigger satellites, the microsatellites, 50, 100, 500 kilograms, these full integrated control systems weren't usually required because teams of the size that build those big satellites there's usually bigger companies that have got bigger budgets. They've got a control system team. They build their own thing. But with launches getting cheaper and satellites getting cheaper and more funding going into new companies, you've got these masses of new space companies starting, building satellites and wanting to build it very quickly. They don't have 2-3 years to build a team and build IP and develop the thing, and then eventually they need to build a satellite in 6 months or a year or whatever. So I need to buy it. So the closed loop, like full control system, like turnkey control system market in microsats is like very rapidly developing. There's no one doing that. And we've got this extremely fine-tuned system. We just built a Gen 2, so we had our Gen 1 system that we've been building since 2014, and we then built the Gen 2 over the last 2-3 years. So we defined that thing to be very modular. So this exactly the same thing. You can just connect bigger reaction wheels and bigger torque rods, and then it can work for a big satellite. So we can use exactly the same technology we have now with just a couple of bigger components, and then we can solve the same problem for bigger satellites. We started marketing that, partnering with companies, just buying in those big reaction wheels and torque rods, and then providing the big system to the big satellites. And we started getting contracts. So it's once again making those sales. So getting the people that are willing to take the risk because you haven't done it before, but willing to fly it. But we're using proven components. And yeah, so we've already got 5-6 contracts for big satellite control systems now, the biggest being a 400 kilogram satellite. And so that market is really going to take off. And at the moment, we're buying those big components, but we're also developing our own now. So we're building bigger reaction wheels, a whole range of bigger reaction wheels. And the market for that control systems and for the reaction wheels, that could be 5-10 times as big as our current market. So, we're entering this big satellite market with it's just way bigger than what we're currently in. So our growth is going to be through, entering that market and starting to develop there. So we're moving into a new building. We're moving out of
next month?
The launch lab area. So we haven't been in the launch lab for a long time. We're right next to the launch lab. We're neighbors. So we're going to Technopark. We got an amazing building there. And I mean, it's like big company now. We're like next to Garmin and all these guys. And just fantastic offices, building a big clean room. On the top floor with a beautiful view, we're going to have coffee and smoothie bar, pool table, foosball.
So now the gimmicks come in.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just going to be incredible. Big cafeteria. We're moving in 1st of March. So we've got like 3 weeks to get everything done. Our CEO, Ian, has been just phenomenal in getting things done. Like he's just an incredible executor and planner and stuff. So it's been great for me to be able to, do the research and decide what I want and like be able to have a conversation with him, and then he just grabs it and runs with it. So it's coming together very nicely. And I mean, the team's just been incredible. I mean, our finance manager, she has a bit of experience with interior design. She had a couple of, so now she's taking over and she's so excited about it. I mean, working in the evenings, designing stuff, and everyone's really just like excited getting together because everyone's excited. Like a month ago or whatever, actually when we signed the lease, which was a big process to negotiate the contract, man, it was like 4 months of how to just get the lease agreement negotiated because it's a 5-year lease. We just took everyone there. We got pizzas and champagne on the top floor, and we just so that everyone can just see the show. And but no one has seen what we've done since. So 1st of March, we're literally everyone pack everything up, and then we're gonna mission over there, unpack everything, and then that evening have a braai and just chill. So really looking forward to that. But there's lots to do. So anyway, new building, new markets. We're opening international offices. So we're gonna open an office in EU and US. Sales offices, but also there will be some operational part to it in the future. So some of the missions that we're working on require it to be European to a certain extent. So for instance, we need to add some value there and do some of the production there. And there's opportunity there because there's a very mature space supply chain in Europe. So we can use that supply chain and maybe even do things cheaper or better there, or have a different version of our components there. So we're going to expand just to also globalize the company and reduce risks and stuff. So we recently got investment. So we took investment from the UTF and Savant. They invested together. So $47 million. So we used that to buy out some of the smaller shareholders. So just restructure and consolidate the cap table and stuff. And then we're moving to the new building and international expansion, and like they're backing all of that.
Revenue current year projected?
About 80 to 90 million bucks.
Okay. And can you say profit on that?
Big margins.
Yeah. Because it's
healthy margins.
What's fascinating is you're talking all this, 47 million, that's a lot, but what you just unpacked, that might be half of what you actually need.
Yeah.
To do the stuff that you're saying.
You got to remember that we've never taken any investment up till now. So we've funded everything through profit. So the investment isn't required for us to continue and to grow and whatever. It's a boost.
Yeah.
And it's getting partners on board.
Strategic partners, and it creates a lot of PR to be like, we didn't need the money, but we raised investment. Because sometimes it's helpful to fast track it. It turns 18 months into 6 or 12 months, but then it also puts that on a different map.
Well, it's something to keep in mind for everyone else out there. There's this, and not saying this in a negative way, but there's a thing called debt capital, right? Yeah. So it's like having a shareholder that is completely external, not working in the company, not strategically contributing, not thinking about the company or assisting or whatever, but having shareholding versus having a shareholder that is actively trying to help you grow the company. Their goal is to increase your company value and to help you grow and to solve problems that you have, to be a strategic soundboard, etc. There's a massive difference. So, the investors that we got on board now are, the UTF guys are amazing. Wayne and Daniel's been absolutely fantastic to work with. Just from the partners, they're available at any time. They've got the right mindset. Their goal and my goal is aligned. Grow the company.
Yeah. What would you want as an exit plan?
Since we started, we've never talked about exit or planned for exit or anything. So the goal was never build share value and then sell the company. It was build amazing products and services and solve the customer's need. Like my mission has always been, what does the customer want? So building the brand and building the product and solving the customer's need. I've never thought about company value. I think the company value comes when you do it that way. But my dad always told me, first make the money, then spend the money. And that's kind of how we've approached things, right? We've made money and then we've grown. And sometimes you miss out on opportunities by not taking investment, right? Sometimes you need investment to grow quickly to capture the opportunity. In our case, the industry was growing at a rate where we weren't going to significantly benefit by growing quicker earlier. We grew at just the right pace to keep up with the industry's growth and always serve the industry. And by doing that, we stayed efficient. Because I think if you get too much money too early, you do get inefficient very quickly. A lot of the European companies, they've raised crap tons of money and then they're just so efficient and their products are expensive and the teams are huge and then they burn money. So I'm not saying investment is very important and very it's crucial for most industries and most companies. It needs to be appropriate. In our case, now it's appropriate. I've always had this mindset of getting to the point where our control system is the baseline control system for any satellite built in the world, right? And that doesn't mean there's going to be exit. We can run this company for the next 100 years just supplying control systems to all the satellites being built. So if that is the way it goes and that's the way I'm thinking, that's what I'm going to keep chasing is build the best product, deliver the best service, be on every satellite out there, be ambitious and build more and more and more of it, but just focus on the thing that we love and control systems and we understand. But I'm also realistic to know that there might be at some point some offer, some strategic either investor that wants to buy the thing or
if you carry on the way you are, someone's going to come with just a duffel bag of cash.
So a lot of people you said like we want to buy, invest or buy or whatever, but it's never. I've never even been interested. Like even the UTF guys, it's been a long time we've talked, but I've always just said like I don't understand why I need it. Now there was opportunity, and then I took the money. So I'm not even thinking about it. It might come at some point, but yeah,
it's impressive.
I do want to just kind of also conclude to say, all of my opinions and my comments and about, what to do as a CEO and, talking about the culture and how I need to get myself sorted out and stuff. And then that filters into the company. I'm saying all of that with caution to not sound like I value myself too much. I don't want to make it sound as if I think I'm pivotal to the company's success. It's up to the people in the end to make this thing successful. I mean, I'm providing guidance and leadership, but ultimately it's the group of people that we have that really make the thing successful. Yes, it's important to get yourself, your mindset right and get your principles right and be a good leader and be a good example. But it's also super important to realize that your influence is limited, and it's up to your team and your success and your contribution to the success and your importance to the success is limited. It might feel like you're very important as a CEO or have a big influence, but ultimately always remember that it's the team that's making the thing successful. Without the team, nothing will. Without the university being there, without the background, without the professor, without the other shareholders, without the opportunity that we had, without all of those things, any one of those things not being there wouldn't be successful. So I think as a CEO, always remember to stay humble and realize that yes, you're doing a lot of things right, and yes, a lot of the things that you do have an influence. But always realize that a lot of it is out of your control, is luck, is other people's contributions and successes that ultimately feed into this company being successful. So I think always stay aware of that and stay kind of thankful to the people around you.
Wise and humble words.
Good finish. Yeah.
Good.
Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Mike.
Big pleasure.